Mama G's story time. Life lesson, expectations postponed. Glenda and Huxley were excitedly rehearsing for their upcoming wedding on one fateful Friday afternoon. All of the members of the bridal party were present because it was a public holiday. Just before rehearsals began, the matron of honor acknowledged the support and commitment of the bridal party. In the midst of the rehearsals, two elderly women and a young lady stopped by to inquire about Huxley. Since the music was too loud in the hall, Huxley took Glenda by the hand and informed her that he was going to talk to the women outside. Glenda obliged and continued rehearsing with the bridal party. Huxley hadn't returned after 35 minutes, and Glenda began to worry. She went outside to look for him, but neither he nor his car could be located. Glenda tried calling Huxley, but his phone was switched off. She went back inside and told the DJ to turn off the music right away. The best man proposed that they go to Huxley's house first before asking his relatives. They left the rehearsal hall immediately and went straight to Huxley's place, and upon entering his home, they discovered some luggage. Huxley and the same young woman who had visited during the rehearsals were seated together on the sofa, with the two older women occupying the seats across from them. They were all puzzled and lost for words, so they stood there in the middle of the living room like statues. One of the elderly women finally broke the silence and introduced herself as Mireille's aunt. Furthermore, she continued talking and revealed that Mireille, her niece, was carrying Huxley's child. Glenda was shocked. Looking directly at Huxley, she asked who Mireille was, to which one of the older women pointed to the young lady sitting beside her fiancé. Glenda was devastated. She never once suspected Huxley was cheating on her. He was a devout Christian, a son-in-law most parents hoped for. How could her fairy tale love story crumble within the blink of an eye, she thought to herself. Then suddenly Glenda collapsed and lost consciousness. The news was just too distressing for her to process. She was rushed to a neighboring clinic with great urgency, and when she regained consciousness, she was surrounded by the matron of honor, bridesmaids, and groomsmen. Huxley was nowhere to be seen. The doctor then requested that everyone step aside so that he could talk to Glenda privately. After the others had left, the doctor informed her that she was 5 weeks pregnant. It was as if she had been dealt another blow. Could her life get any worse? She felt foolish. She had known Huxley since high school, and she vowed to stay a virgin until they got married. Unfortunately, 2 months before their wedding, Huxley persuaded her to be intimate. He argued that they were getting married anyway, so what was the big deal? They had been so good throughout the years, plus an engagement was as good as a marriage, so Glenda gave in. All she could think about at the time was how close they were to getting married, so why not? Little did she know that that decision would prove to be one of her life's biggest mistakes. So what was she going to do now? All kinds of thoughts were running through her mind until she was interrupted by the discharge nurse. "You are good to go home now," she said, as the doctor finished signing some papers and urged her to take it easy. When Glenda got home, she didn't know where to start, but she knew she had to tell her parents everything. When they sat down to talk, she started crying as she explained everything that had transpired that day. Her parents could not believe the turn of events. They were so disappointed with her. How could she? They raised her better than that. Once the anger had dissipated, they could now start thinking about the way forward, because it was useless to cry over spilled milk. What was done was done. The following day, which was a Saturday, Glenda's parents questioned Huxley about his marriage plans with their daughter. He proceeded to say that he couldn't be a polygamist and that since he now had another pregnant woman living with him, the only thing he could do was pledge to pay child support. Glenda couldn't believe her ears. Everything had changed in an instant. Her father announced the following day at church that the wedding would not take place. Glenda's parents advised her to remain strong for the sake of the unborn child. It wasn't until Glenda gave birth that she spoke or saw Huxley. At first, she didn't even want Huxley to know about the birth of their son, but her parents advised her that Huxley had the right to know as he was the father. He went to see the baby, but showed very little interest in the child. Glenda could not fathom how he could have seemingly changed overnight. It wasn't even about her getting him back, but more about what a colossal mistake it could have been to make such a person a life partner. He was so arrogant, conceited, and had such selfish disdain for the feelings of others that a lifetime spent with him would have yielded a life spent in heartache and misery. So Glenda cut off all communication with Huxley, at which point he began circulating rumors that he dumped her because he caught her red-handed with another man. He could not accept the fact that Glenda would opt to let him go that easily without putting up a fight. For Huxley, she acted as if he wasn't worth fighting for. It was as though she handed him on a silver platter to the side chick. In his mind, it wasn't supposed to go down that way. She was supposed to be on bended knees, begging him to take her instead of Mireille. She was used goods. What man would want to marry her now, he thought. The constant barrage of commentary coming from Huxley's camp was starting to affect her health. Even her noticeable rapid weight loss started to be of concern to her parents. They urged her to focus on her son. She needed to stay healthy and make sure she was present for him. What's done is done, they said as they encouraged her to ride out the storm because no matter how big it was, it would eventually pass. Glenda distanced herself from Huxley and all her friends. People would make snide comments, making her paranoid about everything and everyone. Her friends would ask her if what Huxley was saying was true. These are people who had known her their entire lives, yet they now acted like they barely knew her. So slowly Glenda started to become a recluse, who seemed only to come up for air when she was going to the store or taking care of baby Gavin. Life went on like that for Glenda. Baby Garvin, who was now one, was the light of her world. She had found a sense of renewed purpose for life, and an immense love for her son, to see that he grows up in a loving and stable home. Unknown to her, Glenda's mother had been in contact with her sister, Tyla, about having Glenda go to visit her aunt in Canada. So when she received an invitation from her aunt Tyla to visit Canada, it was a wonderful surprise. She needed to get away for a while, to leave all the madness behind, and for the first time in a long time, she forgot all about Huxley. That night, she was unable to fall asleep because she could not stop daydreaming about what it would be like to fly. But on the day she left for Canada, she was a little sad. It was the first time she was going to be gone for days without seeing baby Gavin. She would miss Gavin terribly. Tyla came to pick up Glenda from the airport in Victoria, BC, Canada, with her daughter Paisley. It was a beautiful reunion as they had not seen each other in 16 years. The weather was beautiful, almost perfect, and her aunt's home was beautiful and inviting. Glenda had been sightseeing non-stop and 2 weeks seemed to have just flown by since she arrived, and her cousin Paisley had done everything to make sure their daily itinerary was filled up with something fun. One Saturday, her friend was hosting an open mic and Paisley thought it would be good to take Glenda. Glenda didn't know what to expect, so she hesitantly agreed to go, but she soon realized she made a good decision. The acts were amazing, and Paisley had an amazing group of friends who made her feel like she was part of the group. As the night was winding down, the host announced the opening of the dance floor. Paisley, her boyfriend Tony, and some of her friends didn't hesitate to hit the dance floor. As she was watching everyone dancing the night away, from nowhere, she felt a tap on her shoulder. As she turned to see who it was, expecting one of Paisley's friends, she found a redhead staring at her with a smile. "Hello beautiful, would you like to dance?" he asked politely. "Oh no, I am afraid I can't dance," Glenda responded. "Hi, my name is Grayson Grant," he said, extending his hand to her as he was pulling the chair to sit down beside her. "Hi, my name is Glenda Tembo," she said as the two struck up a conversation. As they were talking, Glenda informed Grayson that she was just visiting her aunt in Victoria and that she would be leaving in 2 months, which did not seem to faze Grayson in the slightest. He wanted to get to know Glenda and wasted no time in trying to get her contact information. But Glenda had no interest in Grayson. To let him down gently, she said, "I am sorry, I don't have a Canadian number and I haven't even memorized my aunt's house phone number." He tried to get her social media accounts, but this too she was able to shut down as she had deleted all social media accounts. The lack of interest had nothing to do with Grayson, it's just that she has sworn herself off of men after what happened to her. Paisley, who had seen them talking, signaled to everyone not to return to the table to give them some time to talk. Glenda, on the other hand, was trying everything in her power to sway him away. She seemingly thought she had managed to let Grayson down easily, but he was not going to give up without a fight, so he decided to try one last thing. Unbeknownst to Glenda, Grayson excused himself and discreetly signaled Paisley as he had seen them walking in together earlier that evening. When Grayson signaled to talk to her, she had a feeling that things might not have gone well, so she discreetly walked to a secluded corner to talk to him. After some pleasantries, he shared how he wanted to get to know Glenda, but she had turned down any efforts to continue any communication. So she secretly gave him both her cell and house numbers. Without sharing too much information, she explained that Glenda had been going through a lot, which is why she was hesitant to let someone in. She encouraged Grayson to be persistent if he wanted to know her, and the two parted ways. Armed with that information, Grayson then concocted a course of action to try and win Glenda over. I hope you have enjoyed listening to part 1 of Expectations Postponed. Be on the lookout for part 2. Until next time, this has been Mama G's Storytime. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, @1MamaG, and hit that notification button to get alerts when new stories are posted.